When I opened up my underwear drawer that my girlfriend had, I realized that there were stacks of cash just sitting under her underwear, and I was super confused. And when I looked over at my girlfriend and asked her where she got all this money, the answer that she gave me might have been very illegal. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to an extreme crazy story. Now, this story, honestly, is pretty inappropriate and pretty awkward. I'm not gonna lie, but honestly, you guys gotta hear it. And this story all starts off back when I was in high school, and this was back in my grade 10 year. Now, in grade 10, you guys might have known, I might have said this a million times over, but I was a major player. And being a player is not easy, okay? Like, there's a lot of things that you have to be careful for. Like, for example, when you're trying to find a sneaky link, you don't want a girl that gets too attached too easily. Because when it's time to detach, well, there always ends up being drama. But I remember one day in my grade 10 year, I was walking down the school hallway on my phone swiping through Tinder. If you guys don't know what Tinder is, basically it's an app where you can meet other people and find people that you might match up with and like in the future. And me, I was on Tinder swiping through, and as I was swiping, I ended up matching with a girl. Now, this girl went to a totally other school, and funny enough, she went to like a really religious school that was a private school. I've spoken about this private school many times, but this school was pretty well known for having pretty freaky women. And I remember since me and her matched up, I ended up messaging her right away because I thought I could just slide into her DMs as quick as possible, like I usually do back when I was in grade 10. And I remember I ended up just hitting her up. I ended up messaging her flirting lines, and she ended up messaging me back right away as well, and we started flirting with each other to the point where it was almost the end of the school day. I remember she ended up messaging me asking me, oh, like, Bubba, do you want to like meet up, like, I don't know, today after school? Yeah, sure, I'm totally down, is what I told her. And I remember I actually ended up hanging out with her that day after school. I ended up going straight to the mall, and then I finally saw her in person. When I saw her, I remember I ended up just walking up to her, and I ended up saying one of the Riz lines that I mentioned when I first started messaging her on Tinder. She automatically recognized me and gave me a big hug, and that's when I realized that this girl was actually pretty great. But obviously, things get a lot worse, because I remember as me and her started to get to know each other and basically started flirting with each other in person, she would get really close to me, and she was really clingy. At first, I thought she was just doing this because it was the first time I was meeting her, but as me and her started to like speak to each other, she really made it seem like she had a goal to be my girlfriend instead of just a sneaky link. Now, honestly, at first, I was a little bit worried, but at the same time, since me and her related on so many different things, I would say, honestly, I didn't mind it. I actually ended up basically, you know, asking her out again, and me and her, we ended up going out more and more. It got to the point where me and her, we started like, you know, seeing each other for 2 weeks, and one day, as we're at my place and we did the devil's tango, she ends up turning over to me afterwards and saying, Bubba, honestly, like, I don't see why we don't just become girlfriend and boyfriend. Huh? Wait, what? You want to like actually like start like full on dating? I mean, yeah, why not? Like, are you like seeing anyone else? No, just you. Okay, so like, why don't we label it? Why don't we just become girlfriend and boyfriend? At the time, honestly, I guess I wasn't really thinking straight, and I ended up just saying sure, and that's when things were official. Me and her were dating. So since me and her were dating, I guess like ever since that day, she started getting more involved with my friendships, and she started getting more involved with my family, and honestly, like, she basically ended up being the girlfriend. I really don't know what else to say other than she ended up becoming the girlfriend in my life back when I was in grade 10. But this is where everything goes wrong, because I remember after like 2 weeks of her being my girlfriend, one thing I started to realize was that my pockets were getting empty. For all the guys that are watching this, you guys probably understand when you guys are dating someone or even married to someone, your pockets start to get drained really quickly. And I remember looking at my bank account and seeing that it was almost in the negatives. So knowing this, I remember I ended up actually like slowly like distancing myself from my girlfriend more and more, which is really dumb because I should have been, you know, able to be open and honest with her about it. But at the same time, I never really took relationships that seriously back when I was in high school. So as I'm distancing myself, I remember there would be days and nights where she would call me and be like, oh, Bubba, like, do you want to like hang out tonight? Oh, Bubba, you want to go see a movie? Oh, Bubba, do you want to like go do something? But me, I just kept ignoring her because obviously I knew that if I was going to hang out with her, I'd probably end up spending money. And another thing is that since I was avoiding her, me and her weren't doing the devil's tango for a long time. I remember this went on for, I want to say, a week and a half. And me avoiding her, honestly, I felt really bad to the point where I actually ended up just deciding to tell the truth. I ended up one day messaging her saying, hey, babe, is it cool if we talk? Yeah, sure. Let me know. When's the best time to? And me and her ended up planning to actually meet up at the mall where we first met and basically talk about things. I ended up going to the mall after school that day to go see her. And when I saw her at the mall, I ended up sitting with her at the food court and I started telling her the truth. I ended up telling her, oh, babe, to be honest with you, like, one of the reasons why I've been like, you know, kind of distanced because I kind of need to save money, and honestly, money's like kind kind of like a struggle right now for me. And honestly, at that moment when I told her that, I thought she was gonna break up with me. But what she ended up saying next was really surprising, because she ended up saying, oh, babe, don't worry about money. If you don't want to pay for it, I got it. Wait, what? Really? Yeah, babe, you know how easy it is to get money nowadays? No. I didn't even know you had a job, though. Oh, yeah, no, I have plenty of jobs. Don't worry about it. Okay. And knowing this, I got really happy until I figured out what her job was. Because I remember that same day, me and her, we ended up going for dinner, watching a movie, and on top of that, she actually ended up buying me some clothes. She full on gave me like the perfect date, which is insane because no girl usually can do that. But since this girl had money, she didn't mind it, and she was my girlfriend, so I didn't think anything bad of it. But it wasn't until after the whole date when I realized where this money was coming from. Because I remember when we got to her place, me and her, we ended up doing the Devil's Tango in her bedroom, and after me and her finished, we ended up basically cuddling. But midway through the cuddle, I remember she actually ended up getting up off the bed and saying to me, oh, babe, I gotta quickly go to the bathroom. And she went and opened her underwear drawer, and as she opened it, I realized that there was a lot of cash in there. At that moment, I was super confused, but I didn't say anything to her until she ended up finally leaving the room and going to the bathroom. That's when I stood up in my boxers and I walked up to her underwear drawer and opened it. I ended up seeing all the cash that was there, and I remember I ended up picking it up because I saw that there was a sticky note in between it. Now, when I say there was a lot of cash there, like I'm talking about like there were like thousands of dollars in there. Like think about like 10 grand in like cash. I don't know how a girl in grade 10 ended up pulling all that, but I was asking major questions. So I remember I ended up basically picking up the cash, and I ended up seeing that there was a sticky note in between the cash that she had. And as I looked at the sticky notes, I ended up realizing that there were names of dudes on it. Now, at first, I thought this was cash that she owed to people, but then I started to recognize names that were on there. And that's when I asked myself, how in the world is she getting all this cash? And right at that moment, my girlfriend ends up walking into the room saying, babe, why are you touching my money? What? I'm just curious. Where'd you get all this? Babe, I told you I work. Yeah, I get that, but like, what do you do? Oh, babe, just don't worry about it. No, seriously, what do you do? And like, why are there names of guys on here? At that moment, she told me to sit down in her bed, and that's when she told me, babe, I make money off like, you know, other dudes. Okay, but how? Well, like, you see, what I do is like, I like send them spicy photos. What? At that moment, that's when I realized that my girlfriend basically had an OF, except it wasn't actually on OF, it was on Snap, but she would like send photos for people to send her money. And she would keep the names of dudes to see who sent them the most money so she can end up giving them a bonus, whatever that means. When I ended up figuring out her whole operation though, I'm not gonna lie, I felt disgusted. Knowing that other dudes were looking at my girl like that made me feel weird. But at the same time, I know what you guys are probably thinking. It's kind of weird that I thought that way because, well, originally I wanted something without strings attached. But I guess the thought that she was my girlfriend and people knew that she was my girlfriend and the fact that she's doing this, you got to admit, it makes me look pretty bad. So I remember I ended up basically at that point breaking up with her. I ended up ending things with her, and I told her that it's probably best if me and her, you know, don't stay together. She kept asking me, babe, why? I'm so confused. Like, what's wrong with it? Like, it's just money. Yeah, no, I get the money's good in it, but it's just not right. And that's when me and her finally ended up breaking up, and I ended up leaving her. I ended up going back home that day, and honestly, to this day, I realized to myself that I'd probably never date a girl that had an OF or do anything spicy like that. And don't get me wrong, I get how it's weird for me saying that since, you know, I tell spicy stories, I guess, but I'm gonna be brutally honest, talking about it and showing it are two very different things. But if you guys are like me and wouldn't date a girl that does OF or anything spicy, then fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.